didn't think of asking you because I thought that I already asked you, so...
I like it up here.
Oh, that's restricted.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Really?
You can have that one.
I can project.
Oh, okay.
I have big enough lungs to project this whole room.
Yeah. Can you breathe fire?
No. But
That's
you
the
should hear my sick burns.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, excuse me, it's just that even Spike can do that.
Yeah.
You're worse than Spike.
No, I'm really not.
Prove it.
Alright, can we get a
I don't work for
on the table?
Hello.
Testing, testing.
Yeah.
Are you ready to roll?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, how do we start? By the way,
Introduce
where the hell is
yourselves.
the actual? You did? I thought you'd come. You don't? What? I thought you'd come up to your pen. Oh, well, yeah. I'm pretty sure I already asked you. I don't remember either. Like, I was sure I sent you that panel, but we have like that 2D versus 3D. That one panel that I'm having later. Well, tomorrow with Victor. Like, I don't remember, but you know, I'm pretty bad at remembering stuff.
We'll all get there. No worries.
Unless it's important, then I'm really, really, really bad at it.
Right. I usually get sidetracked so much. It's not even funny.
Well, we're mostly introverts.
True.
So really introverts have very, very bad short-term memory.
Hey, we're proud of this, so ooh-wee.
So, I propose we get it started. Do we start with the rundown of how the hell did we get started, then we introduce what the hell we worked on recently. So do you think that we're still working on stuff?
Who goes first?
Well, I mean, usually people read from left to right, and left.
Gotcha. Hello, everybody. My name is Logan Miller, aka Toucan LDM. Some of you may or may not know my work on YouTube. Raise your hand if you know the following videos: Batman meets My Little Pony, Spider-Man meets My Little Pony, Sailor Moon meets My Little Pony. What do all those have in common? They're all cringy, I know. No, I'm kidding. I'm the person responsible for those videos. I tend to make like a series off of that where I have like different characters from different properties meet My Little Pony characters in wacky situations. And I do want to showcase one video that's not part of that series, but something I did last year, which you may or may not have seen. So, you want to like showcase it now?
Of course. Let's try it. Please tell me there's no folder like the wrong one that I put in front of everybody.
Oh no, I made sure like I don't delete folders.
Yeah, I'm really scared because the thing by default with Finder is all my files, so it's always gonna open the latest stuff.
The middle one.
Middle one? Alrighty. Do we have sound? Yep, all I hear is static. Oh, I keep pressing the button, so it should make sound, and I don't want to ruin it for all of you.
We just want to speak over the video.
Because worst case scenario, I'm gonna go with the other technique that I always use.
If all else fails, use the mic.
Fine. It's a fail safe, but it works.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Does it work?
Oh, wait. Is it like...
Are you speaking?
No. I haven't used it.
So while we get this situated, how are you guys doing so far? Yeah. Very quiet. That's understandable. I mean, yeah, I'm having a good time.
Actually, keep talking while I reboot that freaking computer.
So, what do you guys like about animation? Raise your hands.
I really like I guess the visuals and the way the overall feels in there.
Oh yeah, just about the visuals. Like any particular visual that you like.
The shadings and lighting, like pretty much what I enjoy the most in the one animation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Shading is really awesome. Like especially if you see like like high quality stuff. But yeah, for me, I have yet to do shading, but maybe at some point in the future I want to try that out. But baby steps, because the animation process, the program that I use to animate is Photoshop, and yeah, it's very unique compared to like Flash, because I know like a lot of people use Flash, but for me it's like don't fix what's broken, because I really like using Photoshop. It's basically like frame by frame process, where it's like kind of like a stop motion, where like I save a frame, put it in my software, save a frame, save it in my software, and it sounds tedious, but once you get the hang of it, it's really easy and simple. So yeah. Anybody else that?
I mean, you can make whatever you want.
Exactly.
It's
The sky's the limit. Yeah, you can basically do whatever you want with it. Like a good example is like with Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry. There's basically no logic with them. I mean, there's like a little bit of logic, but not to the point where it's like nobody gets killed. So.
Well, the problem with a lot of those, you get this idea, you're like, oh, this would be awesome, and then 6 months later, you see it. So it's like there's this huge gap between like your idea and payoff.
Exactly. Animation is very time consuming. So if you want to be an animator, you better have the patience. Because I've been in that situation before, like I have this idea for a video, but chances are I may or may not get to it because I got other videos to work on.
And 3 weeks after you start, you're like, yeah, but that one looks better now.
Right.
And you work on it for months and months and months, and the day you release it, it's no longer canon.
I've been in that situation once and I got to cancel the whole project because of that. We'll just say that there was this one video I was working on, Freddy Krueger meets My Little Pony, and basically what the... I know,
How was it not relevant?
it's cringy, I know. Anyways, so I've been working it for like a full year, trying to get like the story down, because basically the plot is like, Apple Bloom's having a dream that she finally got her own key mark, and at some point Freddy Krueger comes in, trying to attack her and all that stuff. And then I've been like, and I said to like work on it, but then I said to put it on a hold because I got another project I was working on at the time, Godzilla meets My Little Pony. Again, cringy. No, I'm kidding. So I was put on hold working on that, and then I was debating if I should go back to that same project or not, but it wasn't until that one episode that came out, where they finally got their cutie marks. After I saw it, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I decided not to work on that project, but a year later I decided like, I don't want all this work to go to waste, so I decided to make stills of it, post on YouTube, just so everybody see what it could have been. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, I suppose. But that's like the first true project that I actually like had to like cancel, because for the most part, like I do like come up with like ideas for other projects, like I like think through my mind, and I can't. It's mostly like if it's going to be like a good idea or not, because for me, seeing how mine's like a comedy series, if it's not funny to me, then I don't see no point in continuing with the project. But for the most part, like I try like to come up with like these different ideas, and number one rule in comedy: never be predictable. Always be unexpected. Because if you watch something that's like very predictable, then what's even a point in even like? Because there's like common like how often you see with like comedy films that like you can tell like a joke's coming from like a mile away.
Yeah, like, and it's not even funny then when it hits.
Exactly. I mean, you can do like a same joke, but be very unique about it, or put a clever twist to it. But for the most part, yeah, definitely try to come up with something that's like nobody would expect. Otherwise, then you get like the best results.
And make something you would enjoy watching.
Exactly.
So there's been some people that are like, oh, Undertale, it's popular. I'm gonna make videos about it.
I got requests about people wanting me to do Undertale just not opening.
Yeah. But it's like, if it's something that you want to do, sure. But if you're doing it because it'll get you views, you're just gonna struggle through it. It's not gonna be, and your final product's gonna show it.
Exactly. Like I have no knowledge of Undertale, so I'm not even gonna bother like touching, because if I were to do so, then people will probably get mad at me for not knowing like the full like backstory of these characters and all that stuff. The most I know about Undertale is Sans the skeleton, the one that makes the puns.
Yeah, and he's also Steven Universe after not surviving. it's supposed to be a theory, but it's the real truth.
It's supposed to be right. I know there's a bunch of
Yes.
self stuff. That's
Look,
about-
there's the timeline.
Wait,
Steven Universe,
there's
Ness.
somebody in blue who cracks puns? Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Oh. Why
Sorry.
did Silver get into that universe too?
I don't know. Is that annoying? Oh, by the way, I think I finally got the freaking video to play. Actually,
Let's
just
rock and roll.
Yep. Just make sure.
Again, you may or may not have seen this before, but wouldn't hurt to show it again.
Okay.
It's going out through the projector. It's going out through the projector. That's what it's doing.
Oh.
You don't have anything else.
Has anybody seen Mary Poppins?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no one got that reference.
You did a very good bird.
Yo, man, tweet. Thank you. That's just basically like the last thing I did because I have no idea how to start the video. So I just threw up like, hey, had birds tweet.
Yep.
Just poorly done tweeting, so.
Well, it gives the pace for the beginning of the video that now you're like, okay, this is comedy, and it gives you the mindset for it.
True that. Tweet man tweet. And yeah, that's all I got to showcase.
Yeah, I've seen so much better tweets. But to be fair, that's because I've been hanging out on Twitter a lot.
What was that one joke in Moana? How'd it go? Like, Maui said, like something about tweeting or something? That's it, yeah. It's like, okay. Hope you all can hear that. Sorry about that.
We're still working on it.
Yeah. That's all right.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yep, so I'm Argo Damon. I do SFM animations. Some stuff I'm known for is Remembrance, Luna's Banishment, Leaving the Stable. I can't remember what else. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. So I'm compared to like two of these guys on here, I do 3D. And does anybody know what SFM is? Source Filmmaker? Yeah, it's a 3D program made by Valve. A lot of the TF2 Meet the videos were in it. It's a pretty simple program for using, but it can get pretty complex if you want it to. I don't really have anything to showcase because my showcase stuff is for later today. I can show one thing maybe if you want to. I do a lot of live streams, and I have some really stupid stuff that's going to be on my Sunday panel too.
What is the name of that one?
There's a folder. It's a really short one, but it's just a bunch. It's about having fun with animation. I go there, open up the 3D animating There's a folder called videos, and then there's one called have fun at the end of it.
It's a lot of videos.
It's just in case things go wrong.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Okay, next one prepared.
Yeah, that one.
Is that
It's not playing. I'm sorry. We during live streams, it's just take a moment to just make something stupid. Like none of it was ever recorded, right? I just grabbed little snippets from it, but just to have fun. Because if you can't laugh and have fun, even making something emotional, it's not going to be worth it. So I just put a little compilation together, just some goofy stuff.
How did the Wendy's joke even come about?
The which one?
The Wendy's one.
The Wendy's? Oh, because my phone at work, even though it was 3 miles from Wendy's, kept telling me, "Are you at Wendy's?" And it was while I had Daybreaker in the background, and I'm like, no. And then like 5 minutes later, like, "Are you at Wendy's?" I'm like, stop this. So I started making tweets about it, and it kept with Daybreaker in the background. So I said she wanted nugs and chili.
That's a really, really, really weird way to have a promotion for Wendy's.
Yes, it was. I was gonna put one angry because suddenly one day it just said Burger King, and I'm like, no. But so I made something really stupid for Wendy's. So that's all I got for that.
Yeah.
Just keep the face up there. That's fine.
Yep.
Is it who I think it is? Is it who I think it is?
I guess I can introduce myself. I'm Minty Root. Thank you, Scope. You're the best.
What I'm here for. The only reason why I'm actually here is to see all of you.
Oh. He's the best con staff I've ever worked with because at least he's honest with me.
I've been booed by him about 3 times. So I'm
3?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're more lucky than me.
A couple more and I get a free 6-inch.
He cheered for me once.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe me.
Scope doesn't cheer.
So you might have seen my work with the animated promo for this year and this previous year. I won't really talk about it too much today because there's a panel where we're going to talk about the theme and all. There's lots of stuff I want to talk about for that, but I also worked on Luna's Determination, some animation work for Tridashi, Good Morning Baltimore, this year's promo, and a few snippets that I'm not too proud of, so I won't mention them. I guess I can show you a bit of an animatic for a project I'm currently working on. It's definitely not final work, but you might enjoy it.
Aw.
And where is there's a projector ready? Is it dark enough? All right. Oh, by the way, it's a temp track and no voice acting yet, so be warned. Right. And that's all for a moment. She's gonna be canon soon, I swear. Alright, so you can introduce yourself.
I'm Yasho. I do SFM as well. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. And a couple of things I'm kind of known for are MLP Enemy Opening and Lone Digger. But I don't have anything to show right now, but later today at the SFM panel, 6:30, 6, somewhere around that time, you should come by and check it out.
So, I think we should start with the very first thing we do when you start a project. What's your process?
For me, when I started a project, is coming up with like a really good idea. And let me just tell you, it's not always easy. Because for me, I gotta come up like, if it's gonna be good enough for not only for a story, but also if it's gonna be funny enough to showcase everybody, and also if it's gonna be good enough to have anybody's attention to it. So basically it takes me like a good, I'd say month or 2 months to come up with an idea for a project. And I mean, that's basically how I go. If it doesn't work, then I just like put on hold or maybe just not do it at all. Maybe I can come up with better ideas down the road. But for me, what I tend to do, like in order to get like a fresh idea, come up with jokes, is like I tend to like go back and like watch some old like Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Three Stooges, all that stuff, because that's my main influence when it comes to like comedy, all that slapstick humor. And I watch those, like get an idea how they do it. And then if it's good enough, if I come up with like good ideas for a video for jokes, then I'll like take notes and I'll implement it to the video itself. And also, seeing how my videos are like crossover based, I gotta know the source material, how I'm gonna do it. Like, I can't just go in, let's say, give me an idea for an episode. Like, name me a property. Yeah. Sorry, I just picked you.
I don't know, Pacific Rim or something?
I have yet to see any of those films, so I have the most I know is that it's just giant robots.
Evangelion.
So, Transformers?
Yeah, see, I can't really come up with any ideas right at the moment, but if I were to see those films, and if I were to see, like, make fun of it well, then it could have potential, but I'm not sure, because there's been, like, so many, like I mentioned before, there's, like, so many ideas I want to accomplish, but chances are I won't get to it. So that's basically how I do my process, and then I just go from, like, once I get that idea, then I start writing down the script, double check and make sure, like, if I want to use this joke or not that joke. Then once I get that done, I contact the VAs, and while I wait for them, I start working on the character puppets, backgrounds, all that stuff, and then once I get the voices in, then I start the animation process and go from there.
Yeah, for me, like a lot of my ideas come from music. So like say for Remembrance, I heard that song for years and I love that song, and then I just started listening to it on repeat, and I just started building a storyboard in my head until you kind of have those moments you're like, I want exactly this camera shot, and I want it doing this, and then after that, things happen, and then like a little while later, then you have the exact shot, and then there's fuzziness. And so I kind of build a general idea for that, but then it comes down to like the storyboarding. So I start cutting into shots and looking at it and just having ponies sliding across the ground because I can't draw for storyboarding. And just have to like, does this camera shot work? Because something in your head, you can be like, this looks beautiful. And then you'd like actually put it down there like, that is horrible, I can't do this. So it's getting it all planned out so you're not wasting your time and like spending all this time detail animating, and then you realize that the shot doesn't work. So I'll usually do a long storyboard, but then like once I have that done, I go and find the hardest shot to do and I do it first. Because the last thing I want to do is figure out that the whole video is ruined because you can't do the hardest thing. So if you can do the hardest thing, the rest of it just flows after that. I've done that for a bunch of the stuff that I've done, and it's always worked out great for me. Because if you start with the easiest stuff, then all you're going to do is lose motivation, and by the end of it, then you're stuck with the hard things and go, no, I don't want to touch that anymore. So.
Yeah, sometimes I tend to like work on the hard stuff last, or sometimes in the middle. Usually I just go in the chronological order how the video is going to be played out. But there'll be some times in which, like, if I want to work on this particular scene because I just have the time to do so, then I'll just work on that. But for the most part, I just tend to like go chronological order because it just makes it more easier for me, like where I left off.
What if you're working on the same job for a while, you just get burnt out, you're like, I don't want to, I'm going to work on this one now. Because once you get the storyboard done, it doesn't matter where you start working. You can start at the end. I don't remember if I made the last half before I made the first half. I didn't even know how to start it. I made the last half and then I found a story to work for the beginning. So once you have a storyboard set, it's nice and you can jump around so you don't have to stare at the same shot, hear the same words and the same sounds over and over.
Exactly. My least favorite thing to animate is having like a shot of like two characters talking with nothing happening. Just so basically like how we're doing right now, we're just basically talking and doing that for like, let's say the full scene is like a minute long. It takes me like a good 2-3 hours maybe, depending on how long they're gonna like talk. And it's just like, yeah, it's just my least favorite thing to do, but it's worth it at the end.
So one thing I realized that really helps drive when I have some good ideas for a project is when I start in a project, usually I get the frustration because I'm working on a project and I want to get it done. But the one thing that keeps staying in my mind is, damn, I really want to do this thing in particular instead of this because, you know, it's escapism. And I just think, okay, I'm working on my project about Luna and, you know, it's hard and all. And I really want to work on that Sunset Shimmer project instead. But instead of just canceling my Luna project and going to the Sunset Shimmer project, I put in the side. I put it in my pile of good ideas. Then so I can just put all my spare time where I think of ideas to try to polish the script for my Sunset Shimmer project, like what kind of good ideas could come while I'm working on my previous project. So I'm making sure that, you know, I always keep that flow. And after a while, I get a script started. And I stopped working on it. I realized I make mistakes. I have to restart again, just a few more drafts to make sure it's, you know, it's good. And while I'm working on a script, the scenes that I'm sure of, I go start a storyboard. What kind of shots I already have in mind that just feel right with the right composition, so I don't have the trap of boarding a shot and realizing that the shot in context, well, its own context, it works fine, but if I look at the next shot, for example, the line of direction just doesn't work at all, like I'm going, for example, if I have the character who's on the left and the other character is on the right, and the right next shot, she's supposed to be in the middle, and there's nothing to actually make the viewer go from one to the other without, you know, getting confused, you know, to iron out and fix those mistakes. But I also realize once in a while that the framing of the camera is more powerful to tell the message than actually having a character that actually says what it's supposed to be about. So having that step where I'm not done with the script yet, but I have an idea of how some of the scenes will play out, allows me to get a good idea of a good and better idea of what it should be about, so I can go back in the script and change some lines. And it also helps because of the length. If I expect to make a project which is about 8 minutes, that I won't fall into a trap and have like 10-12 minutes of animation to do instead, and lose my time on stuff that could have been cut out at the end.
Right, and like we mentioned before, never force a video because it'll never turn out really great.
If you're not smiling, don't. Go take a break.
Exactly.
Yeah, since I work with music too, generally I'll listen to a song probably 30 times until I'm like, yeah, I think this is a good idea, and starts listening to it another like 30 times, storyboarding it. Then after that, I have to figure out if I need any custom models, contacts and modelers, commission them, and go from there. Like 90% of the time, I end up changing probably most of the stuff I storyboarded because it's like, oh, this won't work out. Oh, I don't have a model for this, so I have to use this instead as a substitute.
Or that we're like, oh, these legs don't actually bend right. I'm gonna move the camera up and hide it.
You know, you guys mentioned storyboards. Is it wrong to say that I don't use storyboards for my projects? It's mainly because since I'm the only one that's animating, I just have a visual idea of how I'm gonna represent the scene.
Well, normally, like, if I have something that's 4 minutes long, I need a storyboard. But if it's, like, short, like 15 seconds, I just go, like, beginning to end. But if you have it enough in here, it can work. It's just that sometimes it just gets so difficult. And I want to refine, like, the camera angles and stuff. But I know in 2D, it's, like, a little different for that. You can't just, like, shift the camera as easily.
Right. No, I mean, basically, I just have basically how I'm going to present myself. Even with, like, much more longer videos, like 17 minutes long, I still have, like, an idea how I'm going to represent each scene. So, and plus, with me, it's more it saves on time for me not to do storyboards, so that way I can have like video published on time. But that's just me. I'm sure, like, I know a lot of animators use storyboards to get a reference idea, but not this guy.
So you mentioned custom models. What's the reason for that? Why would you need a custom model as opposed to what's in the?
But generally for the source community, like everybody contributes something every once in a while. Like they'll, like if there's a new character that comes out in the show, someone's gonna make it. Like I know it should be coming out soon. Someone's making the cat model for the movie. I forget his name.
Capper?
Capper cat. Yeah, he's gonna be coming out soon. And some modelers do it just because. Others you can just go to them and you'll pay them some money. But like it's like, oh, I need, since I'm doing a show episode recreation, I need this X model made since no one's made it yet. So I pay them, and then they'll give me the model, and then I can just animate with it.
And the nice thing is too, if you want like the difference between like Rainbow Dash and Daring Do. Like in the show, they're just recolors. So the nice thing is you can just swap out textures.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, now Rainbow Dash is Daring Do. So you can do that, like mix and match and like swap names out without contacting a modeler if something's close enough. So.
There's something a bit similar with Flash, where you can have a base. For example, we have the Mare, Philly, Colt, Stallion rigs, which are really just gray versions of the ponies. You just draw a mane to add to the rig, you add a cutie mark, and pretty much everything is set. Though, unlike SFM, you don't really need some modeling skills. You just need to draw some lines and fill the shapes. It's kind of the same idea, but different implementation. But yeah, Flash is very good at rigging stuff within the software, unlike SFM, which needs a separate modeling software. So
I've got a lot of layers in Photoshop.
I don't know how you do that in Photoshop. Like I can't even think of how you would do it in Photoshop.
I could explain it, but it'll take a while to explain the whole process.
But if it works for you, like I've had some people look at like, well, why don't you use Blender? Well, you know what? Like if you know something and you understand you can make it work, I'm good with where it is. It's like
I'll say this much, like if I have like 2 characters on screen, the most layers that will appear will be like, I want to say like 40 or 50, because you got to deal with like the eye blinking, the mouth movements, different layers of arms. So if I do more than, let's say, 3 characters on screen, then it's going to be really hectic for me, because I got to deal with all these like more than 100 different layers in this one Photoshop file, and yeah. But I'm used to it, so no worries. It hasn't like crashed on me yet.
well, it's Adobe, so they're known to crash stuff.
Right. Oh, speaking of which, the thing that's really stinks is that if you're working on a project and you didn't save it.
autosave. Autosave.
That's really important. Always autosave, because you may never know it's going to suddenly crash on you, the power turns out, or
Get a battery backup.
that
I
too,
have one.
yeah.
Battery backup on your desktop.
Yeah,
Oh boy, that's.
I got it for free.
Oh, okay.
So, but
Use a laptop.
but I would have brownouts at my apartment because of air conditioning in the summer.
Oh.
And so suddenly, just like you're like da 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 da, and then you're like, when did I save? And one time I lost 8 hours of work because autosave wasn't implemented yet. Now it's implemented, but when you have a 200 megabyte file, it's like auto-saving.
Let me just say there's
Okay.
2 things in life that gets me really, really mad, and you don't want to see me mad. The other one is road rage, but that's a different story. Yeah. Should we talk about like how does it feel like once you upload a video to YouTube, like when the feedback you receive?
One of the problems that I've seen with lots of people when they give feedback is that since they don't really know much about the animation, they kind of give the broad thing that you already knew. Like, you know that the animation is kind of stuttery at times, but you just tell yourself, okay, next time it's going to be better. There's the feel that it's something that you already know, and you just get feedback of stuff you already know, and you're just okay, like.
Yeah,
But anything I miss personally, even though I kind of make everything, so I shouldn't miss something.
right. This might sound odd, but I really like if I get like criticisms on my videos, and by criticism, I don't-
Constructive.
Yeah, constructive criticism, and by that I mean like, you get your typical YouTube comments to be like, oh man, this video stinks. You should go and jump off a cliff or something for making that horrible thing. No, that's not. that's just being a jerk.
I delete those.
Well,
It's just not even worth it.
Right, I just ignore them basically. But what I mean, like, if I get a comment saying like, yeah, this video's alright, I feel like you should do a better job with like mixing like the background music a bit more better. But other than that, I feel like the video could be much more better. Like stuff like that, I'm totally fine with. So that way I learn like from my past mistakes and in order to improve myself as an animator. And I do get comments saying like, hey, you should do SpongeBob Meets My Little Pony, or hey, do this or I'll unsubscribe.
Okay.
11-year-olds, am I right?
People call me a jackass.
Well, there's a lot of people in the, I mean, an animator spends months working on a project, puts their life and soul into some of these things, and then somebody would just be like, eh. It's like, you get used to it, but when you're starting out, and especially like, for us, we've been doing it for a while, when you have people just starting out that are just fresh and they're looking for that feedback, because one comment saying good job is the world. And so, when you get somebody saying, eh, that's the complete opposite. And it's these people that are working and getting better and wanting to improve, it's like they need the constructive criticism. They need somebody there to say, you're doing good. Could it be better? Definitely. But you're getting there. And we need more of that.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's no Flufflepuff.
Oh my God.
oh boy. No, that's the worst, being compared to someone else who does, who does work great, because, people who have experience now, because Fluffy Mixer has had lots of 3D experience before even doing 2D, so he has lots of experience. But what pisses me off is that when I get comments like that where they'd say, well, you're not like dual cartoonist. I don't want to be like dual cartoonist. I want to be in part, because there's some aspects that I want to be, but not all of that. I have my own personal touch that I want to give. It's gonna be different. I might not be there yet, but I'm gonna go there. You gotta start somewhere to get somewhere.
It's all about baby steps.
Yeah, the most fun about everything is climbing the mountain, and when people compare you to the people at the top, you're like, but I don't want to be there. I'm having fun.
Exactly.
It's the learning part to me is the most exciting part. When I'm working on something and I find something new, I get super motivated. I'm like, oh my God, I want to play with this. And I puss with it, and I mess with it, and I break it. And it's because learning something new is super exciting, because when you're early on, that's all it is. It's all new. It's like big flashy signs everywhere. And now it's like, okay, well, I know exactly what I need to do for everything. The excitement kind of goes away, then just those little sparks pop up every now and then. So.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's quite a challenge, but it was fun doing something new. Like, a good example, in my latest video, See My Movement Meets My Little Pony Part 2, there's one section where I mixed live action with animation. It was only for a couple seconds, but I had like Discord. What?
I remember that one scene in Sonic Meets My Little Pony where you show a live fox and a hedgehog together.
I just found that clip on YouTube, and I was like, I gotta say this for something. I'm not sure when, but for something. And I figured with Sonic, like, that'll be perfect. But yeah, going back to what I said, like, there's this one moment where like we cut from animation, and all of a sudden it just cuts to like live action, and we see like a model sitting in front of my Ford Fusion, just posing, and all of a sudden Discord appears on screen, still animated. And in order for that to work, for me, is like, I was like filming with my camera, and you can tell it's like all shaky and stuff. And I don't want to like place Discord on there just flat, otherwise it just seems like floating. So what I end up doing is like, frame by frame, I move him slightly over to the side just to match with the camera movement. And I guess that took me like a good hour or so just to make it look perfection. Well, perfection for a start, but it's a start that goes somewhere. And yeah, it's really fun. Like I said, it's always fun to try something new. That way it helps you like get a better idea of how to do something unique for the future.
Yeah, you put it in your little box of tools, and you're like, I don't even know what I could do with that, but it's there. And then later on, you're going through like, well, how could, open little box and just take it. It's perfect.
But it gets worse. You look at that thing you've just learned, and the one thing that comes to your mind is, why didn't I think about this before?
It's gonna save me hours.
Well, been there. But yeah, what about, what else should we talk about?
Well, one thing I want to bring up, and because I want to like people to rate how much they like this on a scale of 0 to 10. Lip syncing.
Oh.
Who here likes doing it?
I like actually singing the lyrics.
No, 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 no,
Well-
no, no, no.
Actually, singing can be easier because at least you have longer notes. When you have somebody that's just going, blah, 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 it's impossible because you're either going to have a mouth that's moving immensely fast, because you have to start mixing syllables, and it becomes a science.
Not gonna lie, I kind of cheated on the lip syncing because you know, like they have like all these different mouth movements. For me, I just use like 3 simple mouth movements. One's just like ah, another is saying ooh, another one's showing the teeth, and sometimes I have like another ah just in case. But
That's actually good.
yeah, I mean, if you really pay attention, you can tell it's very obvious. But you know how like if you read like any like instructions on animations, they'll show like a page that's dedicated to like mouth movements. There'll be one where like you can shape like an ooh, shape of an A, shape of a W, stuff like that. And I say if you want to go for it, good luck.
I do a lot of dirt while working on it. That like you're just sitting there, like you're doing the face, and you're like, okay, what does this feel like? And you try to replicate it, but then sometimes you have to like say the words and then stop yourself right at that syllable and be like, okay, I know A is this sound, but when you have the sounds before it, is that actually A? And so because it didn't look right when I did it. And I've had plenty of times you have to redo lip syncing. And then one model is different from another. So like some of the flexes are different. The current Juice Day models I think have like 30 flexes in the face. And now they have actual bones that you can manipulate. And so you can get some extreme poses, but by adding more options, you're adding more time. You can get some really good looking stuff, but when do you say good enough? So
I know sometimes what I have to do for lip sync is I'll just record myself like my mouth, for the lyrics, and I'll play it back like frame by frame. And
yeah, I've seen that for like some Disney stuff or Pixar, where they like not only that they're playing out the actions themselves.
Yeah, like they
in
storyboard,
extremely
yeah.
immense. I saw one for Boss Baby, I think a while
Yeah,
ago,
yes.
and it was them like literally acting it out. They even had like the video itself like zooming in instead of for the character moving, just to get it, and it was replicated exactly, the facial expressions and everything.
I want to see a version of the Boss Baby, but just the actors that played.
Yeah, just the story. That'd be great.
You know what's funny that you mentioned Boss Baby and lip syncing? Have you guys seen the trailer for the new Boss Baby TV show?
What?
It's a TV show.
Oh, I thought they were just
Netflix.
making a second movie.
I seen that trailer.
Damn.
Let me say the lip syncing on that is terrible. Like, oh my
Like
god.
3.5 terrible or
2 point, like
No,
two, like
My Little Pony 3.5.
Oh boy.
no, not
Okay.
not that bad. It's more like
Whatever those things are.
the best way to describe it, like you can tell they're talking, but the mouth doesn't match what they're saying. It's like kind of like this weird dub type thing, which I can't. And also, yeah, it's just like when you get a chance, just type in Boss Baby Netflix, watch a trailer, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
You like cartoons from the 60s?
Whoa.
Well, a lot of
to
those
be fair, that's sorry.
those Hanna-Barbera ones were like all that the whole Hanna-Barbera, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is like those
Recycled
ones.
animation.
Yeah, it's recycled animation to be cheap. I mean, if you went and copied like characters all across, all the walk cycles are the same because it was all recycled. But that was the point of it. They were like the canon movie of
Right.
television cartoon.
And to be fair, they were screwed by the budget, so
Yeah.
you can't really blame them that
But
much.
they were successful.
Exactly. I mean, who would ever come up with like how many like over 1,000 different characters?
So, yeah, in like just the time that they did.
Yeah.
But that also shows like you don't if you do it right, animation quality isn't the biggest thing. To me, like your writing, your camera work, and your characters. If
Yeah.
you can have poor animation, but if you present them correctly.
Well, you need a reason for people to want to watch.
Yeah.
And once in a while, it's not the quality of the animation, but just to be very, very enjoyable.
Mhm.
Like when I worked on Overture to Season 6, I did, the Overture to Season 6, the animation itself, I took 3 days to do the entire thing. And the animation was cheap as hell, but just seeing Flurry Heart just jumping as she was thrown out, people laughed. And just that I just warmed my heart because I just felt like it was, I just gave something to entertain people, and that's kind of half my job.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we all had that feeling before, and it is really nice to see how people react to something like that. We spent like months working on a project. So yeah, what was the hardest project you guys ever worked on?
Probably Luna's determination, but not on the technical level. It was more the fact of the meta of all the stuff that surrounded the project that just made it really hard because I didn't want to sound tone deaf with the actual with the actual story, the actual presentation. I didn't want to have, well, I had some stuff I had to sacrifice just to make it good. So, and the actual context of the music used was very sad. So I didn't want to feel like I was using that context as the driving force. I wanted it to be a story that was good on its own. Just that things happen differently
Right.
from what I thought.
And that's another thing too. If you want to be an animator, you will have to make sacrifices. Like you could either like have a scene deleted or not use this audio part. And you really want to keep that scene, but you know deep down your heart, yeah, it's not going to work. But you can always like save it for like a bonus feature or something. So that's a plus for that.
Well, plus there's no such thing as wasted work. Even if you did something and you can't, I've had a couple where I spent dozens of hours working on something, I canceled it, but I learned something from it. And there's everything you do is a learning experience, even if it's just that you're so much more comfortable in the interface that you just don't have to think about things anymore.
Right.
You're not thinking about what buttons you're clicking, you're thinking about the video. So,
Exactly.
in terms of difficult things for me, the one I put out end of last year, the Australia trailer, was probably one of the most difficult because of the software limitations. SFM is not built to have too much, it's a 32-bit program, so it hits RAM limits pretty quick, and I had to split the entire video into 4 save files because I couldn't, it kept crashing when I opened it. So I had to keep breaking it into pieces, and because these scene builds that are there are actual loaded models, sometimes thousands of them. And so I'm trying to figure out how to portray distance without distance. Like one of them, there's a pony falling from the sky, but he's not actually falling in 3D. He's standing still. It's just camera work and scaling models around him to make it look like they're coming past him. And it worked. The ground, I couldn't actually build that many buildings, so I took a picture of some buildings and then just added a bump map, put that flat texture on the ground, and then repeated it dozens of times because the engine wouldn't let me put that many models. So it's like, it was a lot of saying, this is my hurdle, and instead of going, wow, I can't do it, looking at the hurdle and saying, well, how can I jump that? And it worked out in the end.
And for me, like Lone Digger was probably the hardest one for me because it was the first, the longest project I ever worked on, and basically the same reason as yours with the files just crashing. I had to divide it into I think 5 or 6, just because of it.
Well, you did some After Effects work in there
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and After Effects too.
Like
as well.
the zooming into the window.
Yeah, that was actually the first thing I did. That took me probably about 3 weeks to do.
So.
For me, the hardest thing is not with the animations, but it's more like when it comes to like putting the final editing together in like Adobe Premiere. It's more like finding the right sound effects for each moment because I don't want to tend to like reuse the same sound effects over and over again. Because if you see my stuff, then you know I tend to like put in like fight sequences. And side note, I don't whenever I do like a fight sequence or something like that, I don't have that scripted. I just mainly just go by ear. Like if I have a good idea for it, then I just add it into it. And plus, I like to keep my voice actors surprised as well, so they don't seem like you want to see the project to be too predictable for them. But yeah, just find like the right sound effect. Make sure like the audio is not too loud for each sound, because otherwise you have like this really quiet video, and let's say you have a sound effect of somebody like tapping somebody. All of a sudden that tap could be like very loud, like. Sorry about that.
Or like Queen Quake.
Yeah, that. You don't want to have like very loud audio, otherwise it'll be really distracting, and you don't want to like shift from like quiet to loud, and it just shows like, yeah, I mean, it can be tricky sometimes, but I mentioned like somehow make it work. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but I try to make the best of it. But for animation-wise, it's just more, I guess I'm just like used to it, that I haven't really come to the point where it's like, it's too difficult for me to pull off. Maybe like when I first start a new project, like getting used to like the new models that I'm gonna work with. It can be like either like a pony character or a human character or somebody else. It all depends like how they're gonna like move, how their skeleton models are. Because sometimes it can be like a really tall character, it can be like a really short character, or it can be like a creature that doesn't have no hands. Hands. Hard. Let me just put it that way.
That's why we do ponies.
Yep.
Exactly. But then again, you got like Spike, Griffin.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Why do you think nobody had made Spike?
Ah.
No,
That's
actually,
the reason. Yes, that's the reason.
No. It's because he's lame.
I like Spike alright. Just alright.
He's in the show.
Yeah, he's there. He's there to be supportive.
He's filler.
Filler. But going back with hands, you gotta make sure like you gotta look yourself like you may think it not look too hard, but you're gonna do stuff like this or this and stuff like that. You gotta know like how you're gonna really capture that really well, especially like a character with like 4 fingers. And from what I told, like the reason why like some characters like Mickey Mouse, like the more classic characters have like 4 fingers is it's cheaper that way than have like 5 fingers.
Plus they can have bigger fingers, easier to draw.
Exactly. Plus I think it'd be really weird if they were to have 5 fingers. Just saying that now, but yeah. Best option, like if you want to like start off an animator, try like working with a character that doesn't have any hands, like a pony per se, or maybe like a slug.
My very first video was I took a plane and just like had it move through a canyon because it was like it has no bones. I can just move it forward, and it took me like all of a Saturday to make a 10-minute video with just a plane going like that. But I learned so much from it.
Exactly.
So,
Either that or what I tend to do is like start with like a ball bouncing. You can have like just be solid, or you can like have squish down and then squish back up. I mean that's like the basic stuff I like to start off animations, like be really simple. And if you want to start hands, I guess like look up like hand models that people tend to like draw. Like I know like with Disney, they tend to like have all like these different like hand positions for like certain characters. So that's like the best way to look up something. Because I remember like seeing like this model sheet for Merlin from The Sword of the Stone, and he has like so many like hand motions that I thought was like really cool to like look up if you want to like see like hand reference for hands.
Now, you'd mentioned something about bones. What is the
bones. So like in a 3D, well even 2D, it's like the points of rotation. So if from here you'd have a bone connecting here to here, and these would be your points of rotation from there. And like even for most models, there's not even a shoulder. There's also a clavicle because you can move your shoulder up and down too. So and for ponies, it's usually just a simple like shoulder, knee, and then the hoof at the end. So that's for bones. That's in general what it is. But like so sometimes even the mouths will have bones, so you can grab them and actually mold it a little bit different. So it's not just like an arm. So. Or hairs will have bones too.
Actually, talking about bones, do you use, you probably use inverted kinematics a lot?
No.
Or, no? Forward kinematics?
No, the IK rigs, which are the ones that make it so that, like if you grab your arm right now and you pull it, it makes it so that it's all automated through the whole arm. Okay. The SFM models rigs are, to me, horrid and difficult to use. Like if you see some of the videos where when they go down, they kind of get pause because their legs collapse into themselves. That's because they're using the rig. I just do very careful planning of posing. So
you're telling me that Toon Boom with my 2D rigs have better IK than the...
Well, you got a bunch of people that aren't getting paid, not professionals, making stuff, so...
Yeah, I feel like that.
So it's all...
I cannot complain, it's just that it's a really weird observation.
Yeah, it made things more difficult in some ways. Like the Equestria Girls ones are pretty good, but that's because a lot of them are just based on the ones from the normal other human models. But so it makes it difficult for like if I need to move a leg, I need to plan it out right because if I go to like move the shoulder, the whole thing goes with it. So if you're trying to keep it on a surface, how do you keep it there? So I have to do a lot more careful planning to ensure that, and that gets annoying, but that's what I've gotten used to, and it doesn't really bother me anymore.
I've seen these videos on YouTube where like animators from like Disney or DreamWorks will showcase what they've done so far with like 3D models. And let's say they're working on a scene with a Rapunzel, and then it'll be start off normally, then all of a sudden her hair will be like all over the place. You know what I'm talking about?
The jiggle bones in SFM, yeah, like you'll just be moving and suddenly like Fluttershy is the biggest one, where she'll suddenly get a mohawk because her hair decides that it's just moving and like it'll go whoop and it'll just go straight up in the air, and it's up more than it's down, and you can bake them so that you have full control of them, then you lose the automation. So like Fluttershy's mane's a big one, and like tails like Rainbow Dashes almost are perfect as they are, but fast movement the engine doesn't really know how to do it, so you'll kind of get a real like do these little jerky motions. Everything I do for hair and mane I have to go through and manually clean up or just completely animate hair by hand, because it's just if you have a hair movement that isn't meeting gravity or something that defies physics, it just breaks the immersion. Because then somebody's going to go, what happened there? Go back. I want to see that again. So you need to make sure that that's done right. If you go the whole video and don't touch that, and everything is kept more low key, and it just fits the theme, sure. But if the more detail you add, the more detail you have to add.
Don't you love in comments where people point out animation errors?
Oh, yes. When I did the CMPC promo last year, one of the thing that everybody pointed out was for one single frame, the colors are inverted for all of the frame. And it was just a glitch, not even the animation software, but the editing software decided to give me the finger. Everybody pointed that out.
And you said, how long was that frame? Just like that one quick frame?
Yep.
How do people notice that stuff?
That's like less than 1% of the entire take, but it ruined it for some people.
Hey, sometimes animation errors can be fun. I mean, we all know how Derby came to be.
Yeah.
I just don't know what went wrong.
You shouldn't be able to do that.
I shouldn't, but I can.
There is a point where you just kind of say, I don't want to go back and clean this up anymore. Like, I have to call it good. Because you could clean it up forever and then you're still going to miss something. But as the person that made something, any error that's still there, you will never be able to unsee, and every time you watch it, it's all you see. Somebody from my remembrance did everything wrong with, like the CinemaSins thing. And I actually went through there and I was like, I don't know how nobody noticed this error before. I've seen it every time. It's the windows are completely flipped at one point because I wanted everybody looking in, but then I animated them in a different way and I didn't want to reanimate them. So one part suddenly the windows are backwards. He pointed it out and I'm like, thank you for finally noticing this. So sometimes there's a little bit of fun in it. But there's nothing wrong with having little errors everywhere. Look at the show. I mean, the show is errors all over the place. So there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, unless we're like Super Mario Brothers TV show, then that's completely different.
Yeah, but forgetting to draw a face on a character is a different kind of error.
Like, how does one miss that unless they could have, I don't know, I mean, they could have explained why he doesn't have a face and that would solve the problem, but no, it's just this random guy that has no face. He talks normally, nobody points it out. It's like,
There was a scene from the show that when I did from the dash doing the chair thing, that when I was going through looking at it frame by frame, I noticed that Twilight didn't have her lips moving at all for her whole speech. She's just sitting there, mouth just staying still, and I'm like, do I want to keep it like that? Or do I want to so I decided to put the lipping movement in because I know that if I put it up, people would be like, what did you do there? You missed that. So.
That's not the real Twilight, that's just a dummy.
That's mean.
That's nothing new.
Oh, let me phrase that. A cute, adorable dummy?
Okay.
But no, it's always fun to like point out errors, and it's like even with my stuff, it's always fun like because sometimes I notice the errors, but nobody else will notice. Like there's this good example where it's like going back to Sailor Moon. There's a moment where like Discord is like wearing like this sailor outfit, long story, and he's wearing like all like the latex gloves and all that stuff, and then there's like this one moment where it's like he's holding on to one. And you can clearly see that he's not wearing his outfit with his arm. And it's just like his regular. And it's like, I would go back and fix it, but it's like, it'll be like so time consuming. But with Photoshop, it's hard for me like to go back and fix like an animation error because like I said, it's going by frame. And it's not something where I can go in, fix like the color or something. No, I gotta go back. If I want to fix that error, I gotta go back and reanimate that scene over again. And sometimes if I'm working on like a very long scene, like sometimes, let me just say like this, there'll be some nights where I stay up till like past midnight just working on a single scene. And if I notice like an animation error like the following day after working on it for like 2-3 hours, I'll be like, you know what, let the people complain. I don't think it was worth it. It's just something really minor. It's not like I have like flash that decide to be green all of a sudden.
That'd be interesting.
Well, one great thing about this is that it forces people to go comment on the video and give it the engagement. That's why there's so many bad videos on YouTube. They drive comments, and you know that's what YouTube thinks is a good thing.
Right, and you know that there's some like the majority of like YouTube people tend to like have a video per week, and sometimes like their stuff is not really like the best, which is understandable because they gotta have like this deadline to have a video done per week. Don't say that to an animator, especially one that's like doing it all by himself, because never rush an animator. I'll just say that much. Trust me, if I see like a comment, people like, hey, when do you think the next video will come out? Like, not like in a polite way, but more like an anger way. And I just get so frustrated because.
Just finish this one.
Exactly, yeah.
If you don't have your video in 1 month, I unsubscribe.
Alright, see you.
You can always make filler videos that might take even more longer than expected.
That makes me wonder like how mystery spell must feel, because I think he puts out a video like what, once a month?
I think he has a team for his work.
Yeah.
But
Like-
I don't know him personally, so I could be wrong. I'm always wrong.
Yeah. Aside from like voice acting and occasional help with the writing, I'm just basically all by myself when I was making my own content.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are the same as well, right?
Yeah, but a lot of times if you start moving into like team projects, if you want to still do the animating, you're probably not going to be, if you start moving a team, you're probably going to be like running it. So you're not going to probably be touching it as much. And sometimes it's your baby. You don't want to, if you have somebody going in there and like does something, because then you're going to go, oh, I don't like what they did. I'll just fix it. Okay, I'll just never mind. I'm just going to redo the whole thing.
That's the scary thing about going to the filming and TV industry is like once you create something and sell it to a network, they own your property. You don't own it. I mean, just look at the Powerpuff Girls reboots.
Actually, don't watch it.
Yeah, just make sure you sell it to the right person. Otherwise, you may never know what they're going to do with it.
But I know, one thing I want to ask, is there anybody here that is like looking to get into animation or wanting to be an animator in any way? All right, out of any of those, is there anybody that has already worked in that or at all, or are they just kind of like a hope and dream?
I actually done stop motion.
Nice.
So I want to get into production.
Okay, yeah, because there's nothing like for those that haven't like really done it at all yet, but really think it'd be interesting. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. Like the resources that are available, like you might be using Photoshop, but is there anything for a 2D that's like cheap or free?
Not from my knowledge.
Yeah.
Your puppets, right?
Yeah, but you still need the
Yeah.
software to
Oh, that's
actually
true.
use it.
Well, no,
Though, one thing with Adobe is that they offer student discounts, and you can get a license for Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere Pro, Flash, all of their software for pretty cheap, but it's monthly. And
Well, even for 2D, you can have paper, like just the flat books.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot from that. It's the same thing. You're drawing pictures, and it might be you feel tedious, but that's animation, so it's going to be tedious.
Yeah,
I
it's been
know
around since like the 1900s.
for SFM, like I mean, that's free. The models are free. Like there's hundreds of thousands. There's enough models that if you installed them all, the software won't open because you maxed out your memory. So there's a lot out there available, and there's constantly people working on it, available for free. There's commissions that you can get for people. I mean, don't send a request to a modeler and saying, I need this, can you just do it for free? They working hard, so help them out. And the modelers are kind of a thankless job on our side. Because somebody makes a great video, but do you even know the name of a modeler? There's not many. So we do what we can to put the credits out there for people. But those resources are all free. So
And there'll be some moments where like when I do the credits, I may have accidentally like leave somebody behind or may spell the person's name wrong, and I just feel bad for doing so. And plus, sometimes I tend to rush through the credits because I want to make sure it's just simple copy and paste. But other times I gotta go in and type everybody's names down. And it'll be like one instance where I put an extra letter in the person's name and it's like, oh no.
or it's like 9 months later, you're like, at the very beginning I grabbed this. Where did I get this from? I can't remember.
Exactly.
And then you're spending an hour digging through to find it again. So I just keep a list out.
Oh, exactly. That's how I am. Like if I were to grab something and then months later, once I do the credits, I'd be like, okay, that's where I got it from.
Yeah, but there's nothing stopping you to learn. There's tutorials out there. When I was installing the software for the first time, I'd never done 3D animation in my life. I just started looking up SFM tutorials because before I even touch the software, I want to see somebody else using it. And so there's tutorials out there for everything from multiple perspectives, from that might be better for you and someone's not. They're out there.
Though, one thing I have to say with tutorials, don't use it as just a way to get everything done, because I had a classmate, all he could do is always look at tutorials. You need to deconstruct what the tutorial actually teaches, because what you have is tools that take something and make something out of it. It's mostly just a set of inputs and outputs, and you figure out what you can do with it. So you can use Flash, for example. One thing I realized is that it's very, very good to make credits cards just to put and render. So you can use that. You can use, for example, in After Effects, there's lots of filters that have very unintended expectations. Like there's an obsolete color keyer that I can use just to isolate the outline of a character, if I want the outline of the character to have a different effect from everything else, that's one of the things that no other tutorial could actually teach, and that's one of the things that I had to figure out on my own. And that's that part that is actually the most important part of animation. So
It's
that's
so satisfying too, like discovering, like, oh, that's how you do that?
yeah,
And normally when I have those moments, I go, I'm making a tutorial about this, because if I couldn't find the information, somebody else couldn't either.
well, that's kind of weird. Whenever I have that, the one thing I think of is I cannot tell anybody. That's my own thing.
Another thing too for any beginning animators, always start off small. Don't let your first project be like this big active battle between the good guys and the bad guys on top of a volcano island where all these like dinosaurs come in and start attacking everybody. Don't be too ambitious on your first project. Always start off small.
You can have a big project like that in your mind,
Yeah.
but put it as like, what do I need to know to do this? I originally had a video that when I started doing it was a super ambitious, like 5.5 minute Scootaloo video. And I've never done it because now I've gotten to the point I learned everything, and now that I know enough to do it, I look back and I'm like, that's not even that good. Like I can do way better now. So you make it a goal, but yeah, start slow and make every one of them a learning experience. Like pick something and say, this video, I want to learn this. Like for mine, I would be like, I want to learn lighting. I don't even care if it's animated poorly. I just want to learn the lighting. Pick small little things so you have small little goals. You're not looking at it as one big thing that everything has to be perfect.
Yeah, don't start have your first project be Infinity War.
But having like looking at other people's work, replication. One of the first things I do is replicate the show. I learned so much by copying the show. It's not so, like something you want to like be known for. Like everything I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy or like recreate. No. But when you have it as a base, you learn so much because sometimes you just like, well, they're sitting, but then you look at the shows, you're like, oh, that's not what I did. And so you kind of manipulate like, oh, well, I can do this and this, and this works. So you see what somebody else's work and take that. I know for all of my videos, actually, all of the animations that I've done are free for download. So you can actually take Per Pony animations and load them up yourself. And they're just 100% free. So.
It's better be influenced and rather than stealing somebody's idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, if it's your own idea, it's more personal. So if it's more personal, you'll know what you want to showcase the most. Instead of when you try to replicate something, you might miss the entire point that you wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah, use it as a learning tool. But beyond that, it's something that's very satisfying when you created it.
What's time do we have?
20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Do we open up a Q&A?
Sure.
Okay.
Anybody have questions?
Yeah. Is there a microphone for people who want to?
I think the room's full.
Testing.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mona, we can interview.
Yeah.
Sure.
So on something you said, Argo, so you wouldn't recommend taking the route like Gen Animations did, who's done very well at replicating 2D animation in the show's style?
There's there's ways that I didn't even know I could move the models until I tried replicating from the 2D. And then like when I take a frame and I'd be like, okay, how do they do this? And so I started playing with it and I learned a lot from doing it, and I've taken that knowledge and now applied it to other things that I've done. So it's the big change in the medium. I don't know if 2D is quite the same with a lot of that when you're trying to replicate. But you do kind of have that feeling of like, it's not yours then. It feels like you're just, like everything is already done for you, but the tools that I gain from that are just so useful.
Yeah, and always be cautious how you do your animation styles because, like you mentioned with animations, like with his button mash videos, it was like so close to like the style of the show itself that they got a cease and desist order, and that's mainly because he used Sweetie Belle in that video. So,
but then he wasn't coming up with his own style. That's the thing too, is he was just trying to copy a style.
One of the traps you can also have with trying to replicate an existing style is that you won't be able to get it pinpoint accuracy because, for example, with the show they have lots of supervisors that make sure that the pacing, the timing, the framing, everything is consistent, and they already have their own recipes that they follow because they work on it for years. While you yourself, you just watch the final result and you don't know the little things that they might have done that don't actually show on the frame. So if you have your own style over it, you actually give something more personal to it. So you don't have that uncanny effect. For example, Double Rain Boom had that effect. They used lots a lot more tweens, it was much more stretchy. The way the rigs were a bit different in terms of line consistencies and all. That aspect made it feel a bit uncanny, and as much as they put thought and a lot of work in the animation, that uncanniness was kind of off-putting for some people.
Yeah, for a good example of my stuff, like my animation is nowhere close to the shows, but it has like a unique style. We have like that South Park kind of style of like cutouts, movements, all that stuff. So I mean, I'm good with Valiant. I don't see myself like improving with my animation anytime soon. Well, I mean, it's good to improve, but not like how I am right now. I don't see myself like the next Walt Disney or something. But yeah, any other questions?
I was just going to mention that there is freeware now for 2D animators. One is OpenTunes. It's the free version of the customized Studio Ghibli software. They released that maybe a couple years ago. I've heard that the interface is a little hard to use, but
It's a starting point.
It's a start. Then there's also Pencil 2D, which is a little rough around the edges, but again, it's free. Otherwise, there's also TV Paint, which is software that was developed in France.
That one is it's not a freeware.
That one's not free. It's not free. But for those who want to save up for a good 2D software, that one's the best on the market right now. So just wanted to mention that.
When you mentioned the pencil, are you referring to like the rough sketch? Are you referring to like stuff they use like in Jungle Book, 101 Dalmatians, Graph?
No, Pencil 2D is kind of like they implemented animation software for Microsoft Paint.
I
That's
gotcha.
kind of the quality that you get. I mean, you can stretch it because people have done awesome things in Microsoft Paint as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just not as refined.
It's not the tool, it's the artist.
Right. I mean, didn't somebody once make like a Mona Lisa in MS Paint?
No, they made Santa Claus.
What?
Yeah, look it up.
It just kind of came out of nowhere, but okay.
Don't ask me how I know that.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
How do you best multitask multiple projects?
I don't.
I sometimes do that, but it makes things much more slower.
I'm not very good at it myself because like I do work for some other groups, and you have this thing where like, well, I could work on this, but if I'm working on something short and new, I probably should work on this. So it's I tend to not do too many new projects. If I do, it's just like I put the one on hold and I work on another. Because in the end, your goal, at least for like if you're doing YouTube, is to just work on the one video to get it out, and then the next video to get it out. So if you're working on too many at once, you're just delaying everything.
Exactly.
And YouTube is about trying to have a consistent upload instead of having just a mass at one time. But it is nice to take a break. Like I'll work on something that's a 9-minute video, but I try to like every month or two stop, make something really short, and then go back to the other one, be refreshed and clean.
Exactly, because if you're working like on a video that's more than 10 minutes long, then it's best just see if you can like work on one video that's like 30 seconds long, just to like keep your audience like wanting more from you instead of just like waiting for like a couple months.
And so you don't get a comment on YouTube of, I thought you were dead.
I thought too.
Yeah, I get those a lot too, so we've all been there.
It's like, no, I never stopped.
All right, any other? I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, do you know any way to actually spike motivation to work on a project?
Spike motivation? I actually had read up a whole thing on motivation because it's probably one of the biggest things I've ever heard people ask about. And the one thing that I learned was the motivation isn't about the task itself, it's getting started. Once you can get started, it's a downhill thing. So you just have to find a task or something that can help you start it. So like if you wanted to start working out, make it putting on your shoes. Something to get it done. There's writers that said they would go to a hotel and that was it, or they would get a glass of water. And so find the task that you can identify as this is my starting point that is super easy to do. So like go and get a Mountain Dew. Like just, that's the thing. Because once you get that and you sat down, you've started the process. And then once you started going into it, it's just from there. There's plenty of times where I've just sat at the computer, I haven't opened the software. But I'm like, as soon as I click and open it, I'll get 3 hours work done. Because it's all it took was just opening it. But I just stare at the button, I'm like, do I want to? So if you can, the main thing is find something to start, like, just to get started, and that you'll be amazed what that does for you. Any other questions?
I've got
Yeah.
Besides My Little Pony and obviously like loving animation as a whole, what do you guys find is the source of your inspiration as far as like maybe cartoons you grew up with or movies you watched? What was like the spark that was like, I want to animate?
I know from, I'm sorry. I was just saying, I know for me it was Toy Story. I'm pretty sure that was the first 3D movie made as well. And I loved it. And once I found out Source was free when I joined the fandom, like, wow, I can do this. Like,
Is there anybody that doesn't like Toy Story?
Everybody likes Toy Story?
Very
Pretty
rare, I know.
DreamWorks.
What?
DreamWorks.
Yeah. there's
Illumination.
them.
Yeah.
But I know for like me, when I joined the fandom, I was like, there's so many awesome things, and it felt like I was stealing because I'm like looking at all this great stuff, but I'm like, what can I contribute? And to some people, even just leaving comments is usually a huge contribution. But I just wanted to try and contribute something, so that's what I did, as I went to that. But in terms of the inspiration for actual videos, Final Fantasy. The music, I love the music. I love the cinematics that they do, everything that they do, and that, or I should just say Square Enix, like everything they've done. And it's definitely had inspiration. I mean, when I made the little Lyra with just Crackle video, that was using music from Final Fantasy VIII. So that whole idea, all the cinematics, I just love watching those like old cutscenes from the old Final Fantasy, just looking like, look what they did in like 1990s, and saying I can do that too. So,
Excited for Kingdom Hearts 3?
I have never played 2.
Yeah, when it's finally gonna get released. Forever.
Hopefully this year. They did mention this year, but we may never know.
It's got furries.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
is Monsters Inc. really considered?
No, I thought it was
Yeah,
it's close enough.
Close enough as it is.
He's basically a cat.
Yeah,
Just
there you
wait.
go.
We should.
I agree with you.
If we get a world either of Robin Hood or Zootopia, then we're set.
Oh boy.
But yeah, like I mentioned before, my main influence is like the comedies from like the 40s because their humor is like, there's like no limit what they can do back then. I mean, now there's like pretty strict rules of what they can and can't do. But back then, you can basically, they just have fun with it. They can just basically do what they can. Sometimes that doesn't work the best because there are some things that are like, yeah, that's definitely something that you can't get rid of today. Like, I don't want to say what, but it's like, once you go back and watch something like, let's say, Song of the South. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, those are my main influence. And there's some like current stuff that I do like to watch too, like the recent Mickey Mouse shorts. I absolutely love those. Because, like I said about unexpected comedy, it's like you don't know where they're gonna go with them. And just that fact of like the fast-paced humor, I always love because there's so much energy that goes into it that gives you like so like yeah, that definitely like want to put me in the great mood just by watching them. So those are my influence.
So I think we're pretty close on time.
10 minutes.
If you had one thing that you could tell your fellow animators that like you want them to take to heart, what would it be?
Do what you love.
Patience. Hey, take your time. Patience.
Make it worth it.
Do it for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a great thing. I've almost wanted to delay mine because, like, as Brad before, it's like when it starts to autosave, the software freezes, and it'll take like 10 seconds, and you're like in the middle of something, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's a savior.
I need an SSD definitely for that because just the idea of an autosave just going there and you have the creative process, you really have one thing you really just touch and you try to actually get it done and you have to wait. It's kind of slowing down. And in terms of creative process, just the idea of having a very quick preview of everything you're working on actually helps you to actually iron out the little, you know, for example, if you want to tweak a bit the framing, instead of having to wait for hours to just get a good view. I call it the submarine method, but with some renderings I have in 3D, the rendering time can take hours, and then you realize that the sampling was too low, so we have to redo the entire thing.
Like, I was rendering a video Tuesday night to have ready for the con, and I was like, if it fails tonight, I have no other way to render it in time. And so you're just like crossing your fingers and hoping that in the morning it looks okay, and it's like,
Once it reaches 99%, boom, crash.
Well, that's why we do image sequence, because if the last one crashes, you lose the last frame, and that's it.
Yep.
So,
The other thing too, always have hard drives, maybe more than 2, just in case.
And it's kind of stupid, but if you want to do renders and you're outside Google Remote Desktop, just to go and just start a render when you, for example, if you want to make sure that, for example, you want to make sure the render is done, you resend it to yourself. For example, here, I had the animatic that I wanted to get done, so I did the render remotely, and it actually worked, so.
Also sleep, always have sleep. Take a break from the computer so that way your eyes don't get strained.
And Flux to actually get rid of the blue light. It's a plugin. Just type get Flux on Google and you'll find it. Though I think Windows has that feature nowadays.
Does it?
some monitors have it built in too, mine doesn't.
Yep.
I'm a Mac person, so I would know.
But yeah, if you have,
It's also available for.
if you ever get writer's block, the artist block, anything, walk away. Because sometimes it's just your brain is in one very, very tight thing. The longer you work, the tighter this little like tunnel gets, and you'll suddenly get to a point where you just can't think anymore. You get stuck. So if you walk away and go somewhere else, put your brain in a whole different perspective, and you come back to it, it'll be like that. It's like, why waste an hour fighting with yourself when you can just go in for a walk, come back, and just have it flow right out again.
I've heard walking.
Yeah, well, anything. It's just about putting your mind somewhere else so that your mind can go and open up other channels and go other directions.
I actually got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
What's the worst animation that you've seen in your life? It can have a good plot or a bad plot, but it's just the animation itself. What's the worst?
We actually just watched one because we found a VHS at my friend's house of it, The Magic Pony. We saw the name, we thought it was funny, so we thought we'd watch it, and it was funnier just watching it on reverse at 2x. It was so bad because there's just a part where they're just running around and bulls are beating up people. It was poorly animated the whole time. The guy's just laughing, and it's there's people being murdered, and he's just don't watch it. It's sad.
Not even so bad and so good.
Yeah.
There was the 3D animated segments in the last season, which was a movie that they did for $5 million, but everything looked like it was made of cardboard. And the 3D segment that they had looked like it was made in a Play Blast in Maya.
Yeah.
You had characters just going through the geometry, and that was in the final movie. So it was really that bad.
Right. For me, it's just certain shows, TV shows that have CGI animation, because you got to keep in mind a budget for a TV show is way different than a budget for a movie. Because with CGI, there's so much you can really do with TV animation. A good example is I remember watching Playing Sheen for some reason, and I just noticed the animation in that is just not really that great, and sometimes the designs. Something about irises on a 3D model just doesn't really look great. A good example is the Smurfs movies. Those live action Smurfs movies, they just look they just look hideous.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about keeping a balance. It's you can put super detail in some things, and even just animating or any art. Super detail is one part, and not in the other, but that doesn't make any sense. If you're going to be simple, if you keep everything simple, it's fine. If you go detailed and you keep everything detailed, it's fine. Don't mix and match.
Can you imagine what a live action My Little Pony would be like?
Well,
A lot of winning.
Sony wanted to do that at first, and then they just said, no.
Wait, they were originally going to do that?
They wanted a Smurfs version of My Little Pony with real people in it.
And we're not talking about
I would still watch it.
right?
Yeah!
It would be
For the cringe!
I know.
Actually, who's excited for the live action Lion King movie next year?
Nobody. But they're still gonna make $1 billion at the box office.
Look at Beauty and the Beast. I hate that
Is that
remake.
supposed to be animated animals, or are they gonna be
I'm pretty sure they,
It's gonna be CG.
It's just gonna be-
You cannot afford real animals.
It's gonna be the lion
Jungle
from
Book, right?
Wizard of Oz or
it's
something.
like the Jungle Book, yeah. Idea.
The ironic part is that since it's 3D, it's technically animated, so they did an animated remake of something already animated,
I feel it's gonna
but
be
with less stuff
Well,
in it.
isn't Infinity War then animated?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, that is all CG.
Well, didn't they say they had 40 heroes in the movies?
Something
Yeah.
like
The VFX staff is probably on suicide watch.
All I know is I want to know the budget for that film.
that. A lot.
I'm Great imagine, yeah. But hey, I mean, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like dinosaurs. You guys remember Disney's dinosaurs?
Yeah.
I feel like they animated the characters, but the backgrounds are live action, so I'm pretty sure that's what it would do with the
Well, they can probably save budget because they've had so many other movies they've been making in conjunction that they can share the resources from. It's like even with animation where it's like if, do you animate every walk? No,
Nope.
you have a cycle. You grab a cycle, you use up something, you're not animating every step, you just load up a cycle and then you blend them together to make it work right.
See, me, I take the G route, like using like the South Park style, where they just move up and down.
It works.
I did that with the Discons promo for Andreas. He didn't walk, I just bobbed him. Nobody noticed, but now you will see it.
Oh yeah, if you're not showing the feet, yeah, you can get away with it all the time. I've had it where they're just sliding all over the place because it doesn't matter.
Does anybody got any
Yeah,
other questions?
did you have a question? I saw your arm up. Alright, that's fine. Although it's just like 2 o'clock, there's always something.
Almost. 2 minutes. Real quick questions? No? Damn. I expected some. Oh,
It's a technical question.
Oh.
How do you feel about the transition from, I know you've made videos about it, going from Flash to Toon Boom?
Oh,
How's that
boy.
feel?
Flash is so much simpler because it's made, everything works within the software. With Toon Boom, I cannot trust it for anything besides animating the characters. If I want to do a background, I need to open up Photoshop, so I have all my ideas instead of being in a single piece of software. They're spread around, so I really need just one thing where everything is set, and that's still Flash because I need to storyboard. Toon Boom, they have their own storyboard software, but I don't want to pay more for a piece of software and not already. So I storyboarded in Flash, I have to bring it in Toon Boom. And when you rig in Toon Boom, you have to set everything to be clear and to be, I cannot cheat like in Flash, like just bringing up symbols and breaking them out if I need. I need to redo the entire node structure. But Toon Boom is really strong. For example, I have one peg that allows me to turn the head from one side, just like I would do in 3D. Yeah, just that part is really powerful. So big projects, like 8 minutes long animation with the same characters, work great in Toon Boom. In Flash, if I want to do a very short thing in 3 days, it's amazing as well. So, yeah. So I think is it.
Yep.
So we're gonna have another panel. There's a 2D versus 3D ponies, which should be around here. I'll invite you. We're gonna talk a bit more about the technical stuff. Apart from that, I'll be in pony animation with Harmony Studio tomorrow. And there's the fan animator gathering with.
And the SFM panel tonight too.
Yep. So.
Lots of stuff.
Yep.
And if you want to know more about my stuff, I got my own panel at 415, same location. So if you guys want to, if not, then okay.
Okay, Fluttershy.
And apart from that, I all wish you an amazing con.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys.